Today, we're talking about the $15 billion question and why funding NG911 remains one of the biggest unresolved public safety issues in the country. So here's the real question. If NG911 is critical national infrastructure, why are states, counties, and PSAPs still being asked to figure it out on their own? Today we're breaking down what NG911 really costs, why Congress keeps circling the issue, and who's been footing the bill so far. And that's coming up next on TiPS Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories in public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Let me start with the truth that makes people uncomfortable. NG911 isn't expensive because it's fancy. It's expensive because we waited too long. Welcome to TiPS Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch, I'm a NENA certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today, we're talking about the $15 billion question and why funding NG911 remains one of the biggest unresolved public safety issues in the country. Where the $15 billion number comes from. So let's clear this up right away. That $15 billion figure didn't come from some vendor's pitch deck. The number was carefully calculated based on national assessments, state NG911 cost studies, ESI build-outs, GIS remediation, call handling upgrades, cybersecurity hardening, as well as training, staffing, and ongoing operations. So in other words, this is end-to-end next-generation 911, and not just some shiny new piece of software. And during the December 16th Energy and Commerce hearing, lawmakers finally acknowledged that this is not a small modernization project. It's a national infrastructure rebuild. Who's been paying the bill so far? So here's the part that rarely gets talked about out loud. So far, Next Generation 911 has been funded by things like state 911 fees where they exist, local budgets, bond issues, one-time grants, and in some cases, pure luck. Despite the improvements, there are still some 911 fees that continue to be habitually diverted. Many rural PSAPs fall behind in technology. The wealthier states modernize and move faster, and this causes interoperability gaps to grow wider. So when Congress asks why isn't NG911 deployed everywhere yet, the honest answer is simple. And that's because local government has been trying to carry a federal responsibility. The topic Congress tiptoed around. The recent Energy and Commerce hearing was important, although incomplete. Lawmakers managed to talk about grant programs, oversight, accountability, and cybersecurity. But what they didn't lock down was a dedicated funding source, a long-term sustainability model, protection against fee diversions, and the ongoing operational costs, not just deployments. What we need to realize is that NG911 is not just a one-time purchase and deployment. It's a living, breathing network, and living networks need predictable funding, not just sporadic attention. Why cybersecurity raises the price tag. One reason that the $15 billion price tag keeps climbing is cybersecurity. You see, a modern NG911 ecosystem brings in things like IP call routing, shared ESI networks, interconnected public safety answer points, as well as commercial and enterprise IoT data feeds. Now, this also means firewalls, monitoring, incident response, redundancy, and the people who actually know how to run it. For a completely secure NG911 environment, the infrastructure is going to cost more, but an insecure NG911 network will cost lives. Fortunately, that trade-off finally made it into the congressional record. What this means for PSAPs right now. From the field's perspective, here's the practical takeaway for now. Until Congress actually acts, states are going to continue to move at different speeds. The smaller PSAPs will continue to struggle to keep up. The cyber risk will continue to grow quietly. And finally, next generation will mean very different things in different environments. These are why the funding debates matter, because NG911 done halfway is really just legacy 911 with more failure modes. Reality check. Look, I'm going to be very blunt here. You can't mandate NG911 performance without funding NG911 infrastructure. And you can't demand cybersecurity without paying for security. And most of all, you can't call 911 critical national infrastructure and then funding it like a local IT project. The bottom line, the recent Energy and Commerce Committee hearing cracked open the door. The industry stuck its foot in, but now comes the hard part. Writing the checks, picking the funding model, and deciding whether NG911 is truly a national priority. The $15 billion question isn't whether NG911 is worth it. Of course it is. It's just whether we're willing to pay for it before the legacy system fails, not after. And that wraps up this episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you got a new perspective on the topic. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911. If you enjoy our episodes, you can visit 911tips.com, where you'll find a complete archive of all of our previous shows. Check out my blogs at Fletch.tv, and you'll find my professional work at Fletch911.com. Stay safe, thanks so much for listening, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. This is Fletch. I'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.